I'm Rose.
And I'm Carolina.
And this is our podcast,
Water
into
into
Wine.
Wine.
Today we're going to be reading this short passage of Jesus' birth. It's found in Luke chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria, and everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloth and placed him in a manger because there was no guest room available for them.
Ooh, and Jesus was born.
And Jesus was born.
Nice.
Yep.
So he was born in a manger because they had no room. What is a manger?
A
Like
manger is like a feeding trough.
A feeding trough. What is that?
Like for animals. Because, when you think of, you've seen the nativity scene, right?
What?
The nativity scene, where it's the baby Jesus in the manger with Mary and Joseph and the shepherds. Yeah, in a stable.
Yeah.
They made it look like a stable, and there's animals around. Yeah, so a manger, from my understanding, is just like what we call a feeding trough, where you put like the animals' food and they go eat out of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was filled with hay.
Well, and that's crazy to think that Jesus was born in a place
manger,
like that.
right?
Yeah. To think like most Almighty was finally born, and that's why he was born.
And that's why he was born in.
The least materialistic way, right? Like,
right. And I bet that probably also led to the Jews not believing that he was the coming Messiah, because why would the person God prophesies, who's supposed to be this almighty leader, be born in a manger instead of in a castle or a place fit for a king?
Yeah, but we already know Jesus always keeps it humble. Like, he's always keeping it humble. That's what it is. They didn't even have a place to go, even though they were traveling, which they traveled really long, right?
Yeah, the trip altogether was 70 miles on donkey. And she was 8 months pregnant, 9 months pregnant.
That's probably what induced her.
Yeah, that's what I'm
on
saying.
That bumpy road.
All the bumpiness, 70 miles of donkey bumps. And then to get there, and everyone's there. It's kind of like, how if something big's going on in your town, and you can't find anywhere to stay, and they go to this inn and there's no room, but they're all like, hey, but we have this manger, because obviously they probably felt bad because this lady's super pregnant, and they just traveled all that way.
So they weren't married yet.
No, they weren't married.
Born.
No. That's right.
Because isn't that a sin?
Yeah, but it's for not us, because they didn't. They weren't. They didn't consummate it, or she didn't consummate nothing
at all.
The baby was just put into her.
Right. We gotta be married.
Holy Spirit.
We gotta be married.
Yeah, we gotta be married
to do all that.
Maybe that's why they call it married, because Mary. Just kidding. It was called marriage before Mary. But yeah. I don't know. That's so crazy, in such a dark, dingy place.
So what happened in the house of David? Why didn't they accept them for the birth? Because apparently he traveled there because he was a part of the house.
Well,
of David.
okay.
That's what it says.
Because there's different houses, and this is just it's the Roman Empire, and they didn't have to participate in their military or anything like that, but they still had to pay taxes, and they did that by the line you're from.
So he didn't stay there at all.
A Martinez, and I am a Martinson. So if we were back then, I would have to go to where the very first Martinson was, and you would have to go to where the very first Martinez was.
Okay, doesn't mean that I'm tight with them.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
like your line,
Oh,
like
okay,
your
okay.
ancestry line. I feel like sometimes we can think that, like, just like being obedient to God, like Mary was being and Joseph was being, for like taking on, like, okay, I'm gonna give birth to the Savior, and Joseph, like, okay, my wife,
Yeah, like they were
who,
all on board, like
yeah,
going with it.
yeah, they
Yeah.
were all like on board. You would think that, they would have provided, God would have
Have a
provided a nice,
accommodation.
yeah, a nice place
Right.
for them to be born, but instead, he was born in this like dingy little, cold, probably manger. And I feel like even though like we do all the stuff that we think that we need to do, like that is God's will, that we deserve the
Mhm.
nicest things. But in reality, we're promised that even our discomfort and inconvenience have meaning.
Right.
So you have to like really look at the situation and think like, well, what does this mean? Like, this is God's will too. It's not because I messed up or whatever, because I've been doing exactly what He's been telling me, but just to have faith that He's going to provide you with everything you need to make everything go smooth. I mean, there wasn't any complications or
Right.
anything. She popped the baby out with
Mhm.
all those animals around. She didn't have no
Right. You don't need a lot to be
midwife.
great.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need a lot to have things go the way they're supposed to go.
Mhm.
And you
Right.
just have to live day by day by trusting God.
Yeah. Makes you appreciate the little that you do have, because really it still means a lot. Yeah.
And I also read here that the strips of cloth were used to keep a baby warm and provide a sense of security, and
Mhm.
they were believed to protect the baby's internal organs. So, and that's where the custom of wrapping infant babies came from.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I
Oh,
thought that was pretty
that
cool.
is cool.
You should definitely not limit God by our expectations, because He's at work everywhere and He is needed for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I still find it so crazy how this Bible is so out of order. Like we are, like you see, how in the middle of the book
Well,
we are, and now the birth of Jesus. We're like,
Well, no, because this is the New Testament and this is the beginning of the New Testament.
what do you
Jesus
mean?
didn't Jesus didn't come until the New Testament. Everything in the Old Testament is
Mhm.
like, in the beginning God created this and this and this, and then
Oh,
it
it's about
went,
God, and then it's
yeah,
about
it's
Jesus.
about like God and what He did and what His people went through to get to the promised land so that they could be saved eventually by the son that He prophesied about.
Oh,
We're going to jump to the Old Testament, and you'll realize that it's more of like, Moses and Noah's Ark, and
it's all from the
yeah,
beginning,
Jesus
beginning.
parting, or God parting the Red Sea through Moses and all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's why it seems like we're in the middle of the Bible, but really we're just in the beginning of the next book of the Bible, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Or not like the
Yeah,
next book, but like the
yeah,
next.
yeah, yeah. No, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I learn something new every day.
Yeah, this also says that Luke is the only gospel writer to relate the events he recorded to world history.
What do you mean, world
So
history?
like how we have stuff that happen, like here, like the census
Right.
issued by who, like he's like there's stuff in the book of Luke that relates to what we've learned in our history. So for people who have a hard time believing that, like, like
Jesus is
who
real.
really wrote
That
this,
yeah.
and like, is it real, and it's been along for this long, and this and that.
Right. They're already doing the census, which is something that we still do to this day.
Right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But man, could you imagine being pregnant and having to be on a donkey for 70 miles just to go pay your taxes?
Right. Such a bad time to do that, but as we already know that was meant to be the way it was supposed to be. Like he was
Right.
meant to be born in that
Yeah, that's
manger.
where he was prophesied to be
Mhm.
born. So, and that's not where they're from. So, really, what other time would they be there?
Right. Which kind of seems you know, I don't know. I feel like that would be how Jesus would be born, because if they were born like in their town, in their city, like where they're from, everybody would kind of know or hear about it, and there'd be more of a crowd. I feel like, or maybe
Right.
she'll have more like people come visit her, come to visit the baby.
Right. It
But
wouldn't
this
be
way
as
is a little,
significant.
yeah. Right now it's a little secluded in that way. That's
Mm-hmm.
why they had to like follow the star and all that stuff, because
Right,
nobody
to
really
find
knew.
them. Like,
Yeah,
where are they?
nobody really knew where they're at.
I wonder if it really clicked to them that, like,
They were going to
we're gonna
Bethlehem.
leave our home to go pay these taxes, and we're gonna come back with a brand new baby.
Yeah, maybe it did cross their mind, right?
I
And
don't
knowing how
know.
pregnant she was
Right?
already.
You would think so. I wonder if they knew a lot about pregnancies and
Right, that's true.
like what triggered um labor.
Right. Yeah, because I bet those bumps definitely did
Girl, because
on that donkey.
I know with Malia, I was at towards the end, I was just so done that I went out in my Jeep out off-roading, like by myself,
To bump.
literally. I literally went by myself because I knew Giovanni would be all like, "Why are you doing that? Don't do that. Why are you doing that? Just let her come." So I went by myself, and then
Hmm.
I saw how cool the area was that I was off-roading, and I came right back to the house to grab Giovanni and Mila.
That's
And
cool.
then she didn't come yet, still, but I
But you tried
tried.
it.
I tried
Yeah, you
it.
tried it.
It's all about the bumps. Oh man.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
easy and
no.
nice. Poor Mary over there
That's crazy. I had to
on the
do it
hay. I
the
know she was itching.
I and you know what's even crazier to think
Mhm.
about? Going back to the Jesus birth story. Mary knew. She's probably like the only person back then to know she was gonna have a boy.
Right.
They had no
That is so
ultrasounds. It was
true.
always just we're just being blessed with a child.
Right. And she just knew.
And she just knew she already knew it was a boy. They had their names picked out. They knew it was gonna be Jesus.
Jesus, the
I mean, they didn't get
Messiah.
to pick it,
Yeah.
but
They didn't even get to
they
choose if they
understood
wanted
the
a baby either.
assignment.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is so cool.
Like, just to think about. And it's not like something people think about so often because I feel like everyone just finds out. And like, to be honest, not knowing is a whole different experience.
All right, because you did that too, right?
Yeah, I did that with my last one because
Mm-hmm.
I had two girls and I was praying for a
For a
boy,
boy.
but at the same time, I didn't want to know. I wanted it just to be a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to get highly anticipated and excited for one thing, and then like I don't know. I just felt like when the baby was there, I'd be happy either way, and that's what happened.
Yeah, that's true. And we got beautiful Mavi over here.
The beautiful Mavi, my little baby.
But that's the story of Jesus being born. So beautiful
Yeah.
and humble. I love that.
Yeah, I know we read the Christmas story a little out of order, but I really wanted to do with Christmas coming this week, the actual birth, like the reason to celebrate the season.
Right, which is crazy because they never says what month or anything like that.
Well, no, and that's why a lot of people really don't buy into
Christmas.
Christmas being anything but like what do they call it? Like a ploy for people to go spend their money and like
Right,
people associate Christmas,
with gift buying.
yeah, for all the wrong things. To be honest, it really probably was not in December.
We just made that
We
day.
just that's just like a day we made up.
Which
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Same with like Easter though and
the
everything
so
else.
they don't know what day that was, but they know that it was during the census, so they must know.
They would have to know. I would
Yeah,
have to
because it
do a little
says
more research
yeah,
and
because
see.
I bet if you look like the census of the Roman world, which would be the first one, yeah, because it even says the first census that took place while that governor. You know what I'm saying? So they must know what
Right.
was the date
Yeah.
because they know all that.
I wonder I wonder if any of those manuscripts were ever like found. Cuz like all of this was just found, you know what I mean,
Right.
and put together because I mean obviously this happened way long ago.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's definitely something that we're going to have to look into and read. and see, and maybe keep you guys posted. If we find out anything, I'll make a post or something. Because this doesn't even really say.
Yeah, which I mean, I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't really say much anything about what we associate Christmas with now. It don't say nothing about no gifts. And then
Well,
really
no,
the three
because
wise men brought gifts, but that's a whole different day.
and that's why I really feel like Christmas isn't really supposed to be about the gifts.
Right.
Like I knew from a young age that it wasn't it wasn't about the gifts. It's about coming together and celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. But
Mhm.
not everybody knows that, because I feel like this holiday really like pulls people away almost, because like people look up to like Santa Claus and the elves on the shelves and everything, and all that stuff just takes away.
Yeah, and that's made up.
Yeah, and all that
All
is
that's
made
made
up,
up. Yeah.
yeah. But I feel like that may be why, like, that's why we celebrate it when we do. And, like, I feel like Christians, like, we're not supposed to be, like, celebrating or praising other things
Right.
like that. You know what I mean?
Which makes sense because everything's made up. Everything's a lie. Don't even say December 24th we did this. Don't say that there's a Santa Claus. Don't say nothing about gifts.
Right. Well, I know that maybe in the Catholic religion there might be something relating Santa Claus to Saint
Really?
Nicholas.
Mm.
Yeah, but I didn't grow up Catholic, so I'm not 100% sure on that. But that's why we call him Good Saint Nick. But
Very cool.
yeah, thank you guys for joining us and hearing about the Christmas story.
Thank you for hearing the birth of Jesus.
We hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas. I know it's super exciting, coming up so fast. And if you can, make sure you try to check out a candlelight Christmas Eve service, because they're absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And you'll get to hear this great story all over again in a church setting with all the hymns and everything.
Yeah, they're good at that.
I love
Yeah,
candlelit services
they're
too.
so good at that. It makes it look so beautiful.
So pretty.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Merry Christmas. Enjoy your holidays. Stay safe. Stay blessed. And thank you for supporting us. Remember to check out our TikTok.
Yep, like, share, comment, subscribe. We couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do this without your guys' support.
Right.
We're going to keep going with or without, because this is very opening and helping us have a better understanding. And
Yeah.
we hope that you guys are really feeling the same way.
Definitely. I'm loving it so far.
Me too.
Yes. All right.
But Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.